It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Here's a good one, Brian. This is from Blake. With inflation and volatility at the levels they are today, would you recommend continuing to invest in an S&P ETF, start investing in REITs, or both? Let me go ahead and do the disclaimer as the compliance guy. We can't give specific investment recommendations. We cannot give specific advice. But I think it's really interesting to remind people, Brian, how dollar cost averaging works and what you want when you are dollar cost averaging and what the ideal dollar cost averaging scenario really is, because I think it's counter to what most of us think.
Yeah, I mean, well, because you watch the nightly news and they're making you panic about this, but anybody who is decades from retirement, you should be so excited about the volatility of the markets, because we've done so many case studies and shown you that, like, even during the Great Depression, there was a period of time between the 1930s all the way, I believe, to like 1954, where the Dow Jones actually didn't make money.
It was like 2 points
there was
difference.
such a huge price. It dropped like a rock because of the Great Depression. And then it took 20 plus years to recover. And you see that stat and you get depressed. You go, man, what if that happened now? Once again, if you are decades from retirement, once again, you should rejoice, because when you are buying in every month, because that's the data we've shown people through our case studies, is if you are buying every month, every year, it's okay even if there's volatility, because you're going to keep buying lower shares, you're going to buy more shares. And then people were always shocked when I show that case study and say, look, you would have made over 11% per year in a 2-decade period where the market actually made no money. So rejoice on the fact that volatility is your friend, because it's one of those things where I think you ought to think like a financial mutant when things are getting beaten up and be like, man, I have money going in the next 2 days. The market was down, it's down 6 or 7%. I'm getting cheaper shares. We've even had strategies where we've talked about on shows where when the market goes into bear market status, there might even be some crazy financial mutant strategies you can do on reallocations or accelerating dollar cost averaging to take advantage of these unique things. But overall, it gets back to be excited that you actually get to take advantage of these things in the long term. But really what Blake is asking, he's getting into sector specific things, and he's worried about inflation. And we all know real estate gets if you're looking at magazine covers, real estate seems like they are considered the brochure for sure on inflation fighters. And it's true. They do a great job. But I'm always surprised that people don't think about equities in the same regard, because they do great. Now, look, in the short term, yes, they might be a little more volatile than real estate, because everybody always goes with the easiest low-lying fruit is, hey, real estate's great, but real estate's very illiquid. It's not something, especially in this current market we're in, it's not the easiest thing to go start grabbing and taking down. And then even REITs, they're easy to get into, but you have to worry about expenses and, which ones do you deal with? I like the thought of, just like today's show content was, an index target retirement fund, so you don't have to figure out what you're buying. You just figure out, how much can I save? Because that's the most important thing when you're young. And then when do I need it? Which was the big part of bringing this all around with a big bow on it. That's what's important in the grand scheme of your wealth creation. And I think you'll be better served than trying to figure out, where do I need to allocate? Where do I waste the calories to make sure I'm going and maximizing, because I think that's a fool's errand in some ways.
That is literally a perfect answer. I was about to throw in that last little piece there. The other thing I'd say, there's a difference in a dollar cost averaging strategy and a rebalancing strategy, right? Rebalancing is something that certainly makes sense to do and certainly makes sense to review to make sure you keep your allocation where you want it. Dollar cost averaging is how you're deploying new dollars. Now, depending on the size, perhaps you can buy across your whole portfolio, or maybe you just are dollar cost averaging into your U.S. large cap, piece of your portfolio. I'd be careful confusing those two. I'd be careful switching what my DCA strategy is, because I think there's some other better opportunity right now. That's probably more of a rebalance question than a dollar cost averaging arm of dollar bills question. But I agree with Brian. Until you get to the critical mass where it makes sense to be thinking through these things, focus on just plowing money in. Because right now, and you guys are saying in the chat, things are looking a lot cheaper than they looked a month ago. So take advantage of that.